I would like to say that we are the silenced majority. We are the majority. The tipping point of truth has arrived. They just don't want you to know, but it has arrived and we will not stop. And when people ask me who I work for, I say I work for God and I work for truth.
Hey friends, Sean from SGT Report here. Thank you so very much for clicking play. Before we begin this very critical interview, just a quick word from this interview's sponsor. As you guys likely know, the keto diet is taking the fitness industry by storm for its benefits in healthy appetite management, energy levels, and mental clarity. However, the keto diet can be difficult to follow. That's why Keto Elevate was made. Keto Elevate powerfully supports ketone production, whether you follow the keto diet or not. That's right, it can help elevate ketone levels even without the strict no-carb policy. Now, of course, you should probably avoid carbs anyway, but this product will help. There's a 60-day money-back guarantee. Get your own bag for 51% off and free shipping by going to ketowithsgt.com or by visiting the link, which I will leave below this interview. And welcome back, friends. Thank you so very much for pushing play. It's really great to have you guys back, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. If it weren't for you guys taking your time to find this information, whether it's on iTunes or Podbean or over at BitChute or on my YouTube channel or at sgtreport.com specifically, right at the very top of that website are my latest 3 videos every single day, plus the real news of the day. However you found us, thank you so much for tuning in. Guys, I think you're going to enjoy this interview. It's an important one. It's with a real investigative journalist, Maryam Henein. She directed a film called Vanishing of the Bees, which was narrated by Ellen Page. She's an important voice in the movement. She also happens to be Zach Voorhees's, how do you say that? She also happens to be the partner in crime of Zach Voorhees, the Google whistleblower. Maryam, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much, Sean. I'm really honored to be here.
Well, I'm honored to have you. I really appreciate it. So just to frame this up for folks, today we're going to talk about techno-fascism, which I think to some degree is a term you may have coined. We're going to talk about spiritual warfare. We're going to talk about the FDA, the attacks on our freedoms, our bodies, the COVID crisis, and so much more. So first, let me say hello, welcome. You're down in Costa Rica, correct?
Yes. I came here with Zach. We arrived here the same day as the Rona, as it turns out.
The Rona. And is Zach there now?
Zach has been back in San Francisco for the past almost 3 weeks now. And I chose to stay here and under quote-unquote normal circumstances, it wouldn't be a big deal, but everything is really under question. Flying, I personally do not want to get tested or tracked or traced. And I've been fighting for speaking about vaccine safety for many, many years now, and covered, for instance, Samoa and witnessed 200,000 people getting mass vaccinated. And I, along with others like Dr. Sherry Tenpenny, thought that Ebola was coming, and Zach and I started covering the coronavirus in January. So we've been on the forefront covering this. We did a man on the street January 16th, and I called it, "Is this the virus that didn't cry wolf?" And here we are.
And here we are. How did they handle it down in Costa Rica?
In Costa Rica, you know, we can see the similarities in the script by looking at other countries, and they give us freedoms and then they yank them, they play psych. And for instance, they closed down the country on 2 supposed deaths, because now we know that everything is coronavirus related and that the numbers are bloated and that the PCR test is not a diagnostic tool, that even Kay Mullis stated that it's not a diagnostic tool. So interestingly, on the day that President Trump proverbially pulled out of the WHO, the World Health Organization, was the same day that the president here with the Minister of Health, so Carlos is the president, launched an acceleration program with Dr. Tedros, the head of the WHO. And then recently there was another meeting, and even Secretary Pompeo actually met not too long ago, July 23rd, with the government to see how they can pull out of China. So they're very embedded in China. They set off this acceleration program, and then when they met again, soon after, the death skyrocketed. To me, they are just scare tactics, and this is really no less fatal than the flu so far. Thus far, they've been playing with the numbers. So the same thing is happening here. They are circulating fear porn. So in the neighboring towns, there are orange zones. There's been curfews. There's no drive days, and they were circulating propaganda saying, you think that this is like the flu, with an image of a toe tag, wear your mask. So there's certain places where, a lot of places where they're whipping out the fever gun at your third eye, and they're not letting you go in without a mask. I mean, I had I was able to know ahead of time, to tell my functional medicine doctor to sign, to write a letter saying that I suffer from a low-grade fever because I've dealt with mold toxicity, and fever is a good thing. And by the way, I'm a certified functional medicine consultant and coach, and my health magazine and marketplace has been ahead of the curve, basically telling people we have an immune system, and seeing things through, I see things through the lens of functional medicine, and consider myself a biohacker on how to optimize and empower people to be their own best health advocate. So sorry, that was a lot that I
No, that was
on.
good, because you touched on your, well, essentially your online health and wellness magazine, Honey Colony, and we can talk about that and what Google has done to you, because they've done the same exact thing to me. But let's circle back. You said something interesting about Costa Rica in the playbook. Yeah. You know, they give us freedoms, then they take them away. Isn't that ironic that now we're living in an age where people are actually stating things like that? You know, I think it was Thomas Jefferson who said, the only reason we resort to government at all is to protect and safeguard our liberty. That's it. That's the only business government has, at least in this country where I live, under the U.S. Constitution and the Bill of Rights. I was just listening to a podcast the other day with Adam Carolla and his guest Rob Schneider, the comedian. Rob Schneider is a right-leaning, libertarian type of guy, funny guy, and he's outraged by this entire thing, and he pointed out how selective this virus is. You know, if you want to go get your hair cut, the virus might get you. But if you want to go to Costco or Walmart, the virus will ignore you. You know, if you want to protest in the street and burn buildings down, the virus isn't going to touch you. If you want to go to church, well, look out, the virus might come and get you. So Gavin Newsom shuts down the state economy in California, which was already hopelessly in debt, and now this criminal wants to raise the state tax, the income tax, to 16.8% and make it retroactive to the beginning of the year, when people are already broke and losing their businesses. Does it feel to you like these Democrats at this point are demonic and their plan is to destroy everything?
So much to say there. I call them demon rats, and I considered myself a Democrat, and they don't care about the Constitution. I've lived in Los Angeles. I was living in Los Angeles for 23 years. I hail from Montreal, Canada. Call it Newsomism. And it's really sad, as in regards to Adam Carolla and Rob Schneider. Rob Schneider has actually purchased things from Honey Colony, such as silver, and he is very vocal, and he knows about vaccine dangers. And it's really sad that who is fighting for our constitutional rights? It is the right. The left has arguably become the right. And I considered myself, like I said, a Democrat, and was just disgusted, disgusted by the hate. I think the virus is one of hate and one of fear. And in 2016, I had just become an American. I did not vote, but I would have never voted for Hillary, and knew knew about Benghazi and the horrors of Hillary Clinton. And I think that a lot of people at that time, there's different classes of people who voted for President Trump, and people were anti-establishment, or like, let's see what happens. And to have so much hatred for Orange Man, at least look at the silver lining of all the things due to him that have bubbled up to the surface. The amount of evil is unbelievable and has turned a lot of people more closely to Jesus, to God, to the Creator, to Great Spirit. So I call them demon rats. I was just listening to Nancy Pelosi this morning, and her lies. It's nonstop. I mean, in California and Los Angeles, they shut down a party, and now they're closing the water and the gas, right, for people who do not obey the gatherings, people who do not fall prey to the fear. And then we see such division. See such division, Sean, on Facebook, on my own personal, supposedly my friends. I'm trying to liberate people from the fear of the masks and educating them, because for a hot minute, Zach and I, we had hazmat suits, masks, alcohol way before most people, and went through a period of being in fear. So here I am trying to liberate people, and then they're telling me I'm a racist. If you haven't noticed, I'm brown. They're calling me a religious zealot. There's nothing that I said that was zealous. And speaking about me in the third person on my own post, saying she's gone to the dark side. It's incredible, because what has happened to our critical thinking skills? What has happened to logic? What has happened to us being in our heart, where we have a greater resonance than in the brain?
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And I've been saying recently that these people, if you watch Antifa and the way they behave when they riot, and BLM, and those that are looting stores in Chicago, which are now they're just showing up to loot. These aren't even BLM protests. Right. These are just looters. But I've made the point, Maryam, that these people seem to be in the grip of an antichrist spirit. So it's funny that your detractors would say you've gone to the dark side, when all you want is people to take back and demand their personal liberties, our God-given rights. See, that's the thing. The thing that kills me about the left is that they are so myopic and lack critical thinking skills to the degree they don't even realize that the Declaration of Independence in the Bill of Rights, those are our God-given rights. Those are rights given to us by our Creator. No government can take those rights. No man can take away those rights. And yet the left, the Democrats, they seem to embrace Big Daddy government who takes our rights. So it's funny that they would say, you've gone to the dark side.
Yeah, I think they're really under the spell of hatred. And it's like, I try not to have hatred towards the left. I remember I was watching the press secretary, and she cut to a woman who was wishing death upon the police and their family. And in that moment, I wanted to be violent. I had, and then I had to catch myself and say, no, I'm not going to be infected by this very contagious virus of fear and hate. And what are the solutions? Because are we going to tweet ourselves to truth? We're being shadow banned. We're being censored. People are losing civility, just being civil with one another. I am in service to God. I'm in service to the truth, wherever that may lead. And that includes being self-aware and saying, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. And that is what I wish upon the people. For this is a great awakening. If you're not going to wake up now, I don't know when you're going to wake up. And really to look at yourself and be responsible for what, we hear a lot, I'm just doing my job. Just doing my job. I understand you don't want to lose your job. Things are very difficult right now. But how about doing your job as a human being? So for instance, let's say at a cafe in Dominical, which is the beach town, they're spraying disinfectants that are toxic, that are irritants to the lungs, in order to protect us against a virus that attacks the lungs. And then when you say, by the way, I have chemical sensitivities, my eyes were burning for 3 hours, you can use something else to kill a virus, when also the fomite it's incorrect. They constantly contradict each other, the WHO, the CDC themselves, to confuse the people. But then the line is, I'm just doing my job. Well, how about the people who are doing their job, such as myself, such as yourself, such as truthers, such as Zach, who are doing their job to wake people up? And if they don't choose to wake up, then where are we heading? Mandatory vaccines, quarantine camps, FEMA camps?
Yeah, COVID pass papers. Show us your papers,
Yes.
please. No, I've made the same point.
Yes.
Just doing my job. Well, so was the Stasi in Nazi Germany, all right? So were those soldiers that reported to Mao or Stalin. So where does it stop? Does it stop with death camps? I mean, it's gotten to the point where it does feel like if the D's got total control of the U.S. government, it would head exactly in that direction, to mandatory vaccinations, and those that don't take them must be re-educated, can't travel. Look, here's the thing. I think you and I would probably agree there's something far larger at play here. All right, Event 201, they wargamed all of this before the virus came out. Let me show you something.
Yes.
Maybe you've heard reports of what's going on in Australia, and maybe you saw the video.
Yes, I just shared about it. Yes.
Yeah, maybe you saw the
Absolutely.
video of the
Yes.
cop strangling the young female
Yes.
because she didn't have a mask, right, in the streets. Now, this guy, I guess his name is Dave O'Neig's, and this isn't, I don't think, his YouTube channel, but I shared this video, parts 1 and part 2, on my site, thephaser.com, and he's screaming, he's basically begging his fellow Australians to wake up, because under the cover of the lockdown at night, evidently, there's Chinese troops and gear coming into that country.
There is a coup going down in Victoria right now. Do you know how many planes from China have landed at Tullamarine Airport in the last 48 hours? Guys, there is night works going on extensively all over Victoria because they're installing 5G and biometrics, and they're flying in all the people from China who you've been sold out to while you're cowering at home watching the idiot box telling you about some fucking fake pandemic while you get sold out.
And there's another woman who's sounding the alarm, saying the same thing. It's this woman. I don't know her name, just discovered the channel the other day.
Yeah, it's happening in Canada too.
You know her?
I don't know, but it's happening in Canada as well, that they're allowing for Chinese troops to go in.
Okay, see,
It's,
Liberty Talk
it's
Canada.
China. We're ushering in communism.
Well, this is the thing. Now, if you follow Q, if you follow
Yes.
any of the intel drops regarding what hell on earth it would have been had Hillary gotten in, and what a miracle this is that she's not in, under this lockdown in this country. I mean, you can see what the Democrat governors are doing and the Democrat mayors. It's pretty obvious to me that if these Chinese troops are really coming into Australia and into Canada, they'd be coming in here too if the Democrats were in control. What have you heard about anything I just said? Do you have any intel regarding that?
Well, I mean, as far as from where I come from, Montreal, what I've heard is I haven't heard about the China troops coming in, other than they've allowed that it is possible. But I know that in, let's say, Montreal, there's massive protests. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Massive protests against this exaggerated hoax that they're forcing, even some places, children under 12 to wear masks. People are being compliant, and people are being, they're ushering in communism. How does it make sense to tackle a woman, choke her? Where's the social distancing for not wearing a mask? This is evil. It's evil. It's evil. And it's a big, large red pill to swallow. But when you come to terms with how evil this is, I mean, you can just start with looking at the vaccines. I blew the whistle on Bayer, Crop Science, and their poisons. And what are we without our health? And when you learn that they are slowly poisoning poisoning us, just like the honeybees, with sublethal doses of toxins, then you realize how evil this is. And they're making money on us, all the way through. I mean, if you look at, I'm segueing a little bit, if you're looking at vaccines, imagine, pharmacia means sorcery. It means sorcery, folks. So if you imagine like a witch's brew, oh, we're going to put a little bit of latex, we're going to put a little bit of polysorbate 80 that crosses the blood-brain barrier, we're going to put in aborted fetal tissue that we use to grow the virus as a substrate. We use the fetal line, and then we're going to inject it back into the baby. I mean, look, if we take a step back and take a look at this is evil. And big pharma, big pharma, they have a huge role in this, in enslaving us under the false guise of safety. It's false and it's not true. And we need to stand up and band together. And it's like, I'm going to put my armor of God. Please tell me what I can do other than expose the truth and report on it. I am there. I am willing to die on this hill. I am. I don't wish death on myself or anyone else, and I'm not suicidal, but I'm telling you that I am willing to do whatever it takes, and I am honored to be with other patriots who are standing up to try to wake the masses.
Yeah, no, I agree. And the line in the sand for me is mandatory vaccines. I thought that would be the line in the sand for the people of California when the previous governor, Jerry Brown, signed into law SB 277, mandatory vaccines for the little kids if you want your kid to go to school, public or private. I thought that would be the line in the sand. And people got damn angry, and they marched, and it still became law because California is a neo-fascist state. So let me show you something. I think this is really important. Before I forget, it's interesting how compliant people are right now. That was the point actually Adam Carolla made when talking to Rob Schneider. He said the thing that scares the heck out of him is the compliance, how willingly people are standing down in listening to Big Daddy government. All right? Let me show you something interesting.
Yes.
You mentioned a spiritual awakening to some degree, people becoming more aware of Jesus and the Creator because of all this. I think that's true. It's never been more obvious that we are engaged in a spiritual war, and the side that opposes humanity is spiritually bankrupt. Or worse, they embrace a dark power. Now here's what's interesting. Do a screen share. What happens when we the people don't fight back? Does God help us in this battle? Look at these 5G towers. And watch how birds behave. Maybe birds will do what we the people are too weak and scared to do ourselves.
Watch them as they pull the wiring out of the rectennas. Watch how they disable this death tower. I wonder if they're going to send the FBI after these birds. What do these birds know that we don't know? We've seen the footage of birds dropping dead near these death towers. Is it possible that these birds understand that these death towers are killing them? Birds are very intelligent creatures, ladies and gentlemen. You've seen the bird food maze before, where they got to figure out this puzzle to get the food. It's incredible what these birds can do. Look at them attack in unison, and they're each attacking a different rectenna, like an army swooping in.
Wow.
You have to see it for yourself. Here it is. You've seen the videos of the birds dropping dead around the cell towers. Now you're watching the birds attack the cell towers, ladies and gentlemen. Is there something going on?
I'll pause it there. I'll come back to you. Does that not give you goosebumps?
It gives me goosebumps, and it, I've been getting the message to leave America. I thought initially years ago in 2013 when I got the message that it was going to be an earthquake in California. And then, last year, as I mentioned, Samoa, that it was going to be a vaccine. But I came to the realization that we are very disconnected from nature and the wisdom that we have lost that is inside of us. And Sean, I lived across the street from a Cinco Geo pole. I say Cinco Geo. And I felt I had very negative thoughts. And my girlfriend, who's also sensitive, also a brilliant journalist, was also left. We both left, and we realized the impact. And I'd like to say, in January, in regards to Wuhan, and this has not been fully proven, but this is my theory. We know that Wuhan was a smart city, a test run. Right. We know that the Chinese have mandatory vaccines. What if there was a vaccine that had some nanoparticles that parlays with the 5G? Now, there was a study out of Italy where they were looking at adjuvants, and they identified an unidentifiable nanoparticle. And we have seen the technology. I believe that Charles Lieber, wherever he is today, is involved in this nanotech. We also know that there in America, that they have been erecting the 5G poles, and that is partially, I believe, the reason for the lockdowns. So up until now, it has been an exaggerated hoax, no less fatal than the flu, where they're doing all types of effery with the numbers. Well, what happens possibly if they turn the 5G on and it parlays with a vaccine? Just to put it out there in people's plant a seed. We also know that the highest populace that was infected was the military, and so much so that the Pentagon said to stop reporting on the numbers. Well, what do we know about the military? They've all been vaccinated. So in reality, because we're dealing with inverted truths and what I call tries, truths and lies, that the vaccinated populace sheds more, that are more infectious. And so what happens that, they've talked about a second wave. I think that this is the second wave, and we're going to see the third wave, and they're all already with their predictive programming telling us that it's going to be a dark winter. The CDC just reported today that it's going to be the greatest fall. So that's when the coronavirus and the influenza collide. And then we have Birx telling people to actually take the flu vaccine, the influenza vaccine, for the coronavirus, when we know there's been studies that show that it exacerbates the chances or makes the Rona worse. So I'm just putting it out there that it might get real. I've heard reports that there are sudden heart attacks. There are people who are showing like fibrosis, like glass shards in their lungs. And I do not doubt that people are dying. I call it up thus far COVID-19 death by default. Because we put in the numbers and we scare people, but who is looking at the details, at the actual dossier of a person, where we can see what did they have before? We know that comorbidities, 1 in every 2 people has a chronic illness today, thanks to big pharma, thanks to big ag. What are the other variables? What medications were they on? What treatments were they ventilated? Been blowing the whistle on the vents since end of February. And many of us have. So there's a lot of details, and that is where the devil lies. And to just scare people with big numbers, it's a magic trick. It's evil, exactly.
Yeah, I think this is a really good segue to the next thing I wanted to show you and talk about, yes. Techno-fascism. All right, so we in the truth community, the alternative news media, were winning in the town square. At one point, back around 2016, sgtreport.com was a top 7,000 most trafficked website in the United States. I was very proud of that. Now you had websites like Breitbart up in the top, 100 or 200, Infowars.com right up there in the top, 500. But if you do a search now at those web statistics and traffic, everybody's fallen off a cliff. Yeah. So let me do another screen share, and I want people to understand why you have to stop using Google, guys.
Yes.
And like my friend Stefan, the original SGT Report webmaster, he and I were just exchanging emails last night. He now uses Bing because I pointed this out, and then he did his own test, and he said, well, try this, because I made the point in a recent video, search SGT report and see what comes up, then use Bing. Now, he said, try this. Search American inventors on Google, and here's the returns, all right? Got Thomas Edison in there. Then a lot of African Americans, which is terrific. Okay, great. Love it. I love African Americans. But now let's do the same search on Bing, and we get people like Nikola Tesla, Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin.
Interesting. So
now,
interesting.
we know that Google has been weaponized. The problem with Google is they control, I think, 94% of the world's search and search results. They control information. They are Big Brother. Let's do another search. Let's go back to Google, and we'll just type in 5G dangers and see what comes up. Oh, the great 5G conspiracy. All right.
Yeah.
Here's one. We have no reason to believe 5G is safe. All right. Scientific American, probably going to be a whitewash. All right. So now let's just do the same search on Bing, 5G dangers. Reduce harmful effects of EMF, 5G dangerous. We didn't ask for 5G, get 5G protection here. The point is, guys, is that you just get different results when you search Bing. And just to show folks, SGT report. Okay, Twitter comes up, then BitChute, then YouTube. All right? The first result should be YouTube and then the website, or vice versa. So let's just search Bing, SGT report. There it is, the website, the very first return, and the very second return, the YouTube channel. That's what it used to be on Google. But Google has completely blacklisted SGT report from search results, therefore causing traffic to plummet. Same thing they did to Breitbart, and I think it's the same thing they've done to my YouTube channel because Google owns YouTube. Well, the point is, guys, Google has been weaponized. Everybody knows that, but everybody continues to use Google. We are truly in an information war, aren't we, Maryam? I mean, Alex Jones got it right 2 decades ago when he said, this is a war. There's a war on. There's a war on for your mind. 100% true. 100%.
So much to say about the Gulag. And, you know, I was defending Alex Jones and Roseanne Barr, and someone's like, you're a Roseanne Barr fan? No, I'm a freedom of speech fan. Roseanne today, you tomorrow. There is an attack on free speech. There's an attack on our minds. As far as the Gulag, I was getting Honey Colony, which didn't get investor VC infusion, started from scratch, and we were following SEO guidelines. We were getting 500,000 unique visitors a month after working so hard with our magazine and really educating people about the immune system. And then the medic update. As far as the term techno-fascism, I started using this term in regards to what I experienced with CBD oil and being attacked by arguably big pharma. And then I realized that Chet Bowers, now deceased author, had written about techno-fascism a few years ago, but I really popularized it, I believe. And I remember, okay, so let me back up. Then there was the medic update, and we started, I didn't know that yet.
What is that? What's the medic update?
So the medic update falls under Your Money, Your Life. Anybody, they called it the medic update because it really impacted health sites.
Who did?
And
Google?
Yes, Google, sorry. Google did, you know, they have their algorithm changes, right? Their updates. Right. And so in 2018, they had 2 medic updates, what they're called medic updates, but they fell under the umbrella of any site that's Your Money, Your Life. If you dare to have a livelihood trying to improve people's lives, essentially. So then we hired an SEO because we were scratching our heads and wondering, what did we do wrong? And the SEO manager said, oh, you just have to follow the acronym EAT: expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. And I was like, well, we're already doing that. All of our articles are sourced. We're all real journalists here. And we have an advisory board of doctors. Then flash forward, went to a biohacking event that I've covered many years, hosted by Dave Asprey, and Dr. Mercola was there, and he gave a speech warning people about 5G, and then he asked people to boycott Google. So afterwards, I'm friendly with his partner Aaron, and went, and he had supported Vanishing of the Bees and was selling the film. I went and I spoke with him. He told me I was the only one out of the hundreds and hundreds of people attending the conference that remarked on Google. He liked the term techno-fascism, and he also saw the impact. He lost 99% of his traffic. Honey Colony lost 76% of our traffic. So I started doing research, and I realized that Google is a drug company, that Verily, Calico, Alphabet, the parent company, all have their tentacles in big pharma, and that they were involved in the decade of vaccines and creating the partnership where they were creating, or still trying to create, a one-size-fits-all flu vaccine, which is absurd given the efficacy rates of the flu vaccine and the fact that the strains are constantly changing. So that shocked me. I wrote a piece I was in the mainstream, Sean. I wrote for The Hollywood Reporter, for LA Magazine, for Detour, for Black Book, for Maxim, for Penthouse. I was a freelancer. I worked for Channel 4 when I first came to America. And I was having a very hard time selling this story on techno-fascism. And then I finally placed it, and then I updated it when I met Zach Voorhees. So I've been watching Alex Jones for more than a decade, and have been a truther and on a spiritual path since the age of 13. I had my spiritual awakening. So I come across Zach in the Project Veritas, and he's blacked out, so I can't see him. And then I see him again on Alex Jones, and for some reason, even though it's a screen, I looked into his eyes and I felt a sense of familiarity. And regardless, I said, let me contact this guy and see if he can cement any of my findings on the Gulag. So I thank Jack from Twitter that I love the platform, even though they're doing all types of shenanigans and they don't love us back. So I reached out to him on Twitter, and he came to LA. He was there anyway from San Francisco, and we did a 2-hour, this is about a year ago now, a 2-hour, I did not know, his science mind. I did not know that he was into health and wellness like I am. And we just clicked, and it's an amazing 2-hour interview, but I am very, very shadow banned. I am very censored. I never monetized on YouTube because I was arguably trying to save my company from attacks. And now, by the way, I'm a part of Operation Quack Hack, which is an operation by the FDA that I can get into. But just to go back, I'm just heavily censored. So I never monetized on YouTube. But even though I have 4,000 plus subscribers, very few people see my work, and I have been around. I've never left. I've been speaking out against big pharma for more than a decade. And I tell people, when the 10-year anniversary of my movie, I said to people, we are the bees. And by the way, it's National Honeybee Day is coming up in less than a week, where we commemorate the beautiful honeybee that is responsible for feeding us, for pollinating our food, and that is also being poisoned. So just to go back to techno-fascism, if we look back now, it's been a year since I met Zach, and wow, despite the judiciary committees, despite the hearings, we are still dealing with heavy censorship, and Susan Wojcicki and YouTube are getting their directives from China. From who?
Right.
And there are no more organic searches. There is nothing organic about Google. They're genetically modified information, and people do not realize that auto suggestions, I'm minored in psychology, is a very simple but powerful mind control tactic.
Yeah, I hate it. I hate that they autofill now, because sometimes it'll guess wrong and it'll take me to exactly what I don't want. Let me finish typing what I want you to search for. So yeah, I am switching to Bing. I have had it with Google, but
I use Quant too, by the way.
What's that?
Quant is out of France, I believe. QWQWANT.com.
Okay.
There's also Swiss cows. I mean, as a journalist now, I do multiple searches.
Yeah, you have to.
On various. I only go to Google when I'm looking for vapid, matrix Hollywood stuff.
You just hit the nail on the head with the word vapid. Let me show you this. This is so interesting to me. So you remember, when you were having success with Honey Colony and I was having success with SGT Report, 2 million visitors a month or 2 million page views a month or whatever it was at our peak, top 7,000 website in the nation. That was in, 2015, 2016. Then Google changed their algorithms. Remember, they used to have the slogan, "Don't be evil." They got rid of that slogan. Boy, folks, that should tell you something. And then YouTube, you mentioned Susan Wojcicki, they're owned by Google, and SGT Report just recently was completely demonetized as a channel. We're told our content is quote-unquote harmful. This is after 10 years of being a YouTube partner. Now, do you want to see vapidness? Do you want to see the hypocrisy in demonetizing SGT Report, but keeping other channels like this one fully monetized? This is Jake Paul on YouTube. This guy has 20 million subscribers. They're all teenagers or younger. And he's got a brother named Logan Paul. They're the most vapid, selfish, self-absorbed scumbags on YouTube. And I'm not even going to play this video, because when you go to Jake Paul's YouTube channel, this autoplay video, this music video of his, fresh out of London, this trash, has these half-naked girls. Now, here's the thing. One of these Paul brothers, and I think it's Jake Paul, recently had his home in LA raided by the FBI because reportedly these young girls are going there and signing non-disclosure agreements, and evidently some of them have been raped. So now let's just go down. With that said, let's just see what happens here. Oh, look, an ad.
Have you ever heard of
Jake Paul has been made a multi-millionaire by YouTube. He's a scumbag who preys on our youth and fills their minds with garbage, and he still gets full monetization from YouTube despite having had his home raided just a week ago by the FBI for the alleged charge of young girls, maybe even minors, being raped in his home. So that's the hypocrisy. That's the evil we're up against, Maryam, and I've had it. People ought to be marching in the streets. People ought to be standing in front of the YouTube headquarters screaming, asking, what is harmful content? It seems to me Jake Paul's content is more harmful to children than my content is to adults.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I take an informal poll, Sean, and I ask, and people don't know. I ask them if they know there's a Google whistleblower, and they don't. I ask them if they know that there's no more organic searches. And here we are a year later after Zach's disclosure, and other whistleblowers from Facebook have come forth, and which I know is a different company, but there's still so much awareness that needs to be had. And for instance, they took down a recording. I was calling Dr. Stella's clinic, just a recording of me calling the clinic, not even speaking to her. They removed it. They removed an interview that I did with John Rappaport. They removed another interview I did with Spiro Skouras. And there, like you said, that, I say Cinco Gio because just in case, to not get flagged. And we're seeing this across all social media platforms. And what is going to come of the Judiciary Committee, of the hearings, when it's the right that is the conservatives that are being censored. Anyone that challenges the narrative.
Yeah, and the left controls the Congress. You think that they're going to rein in big tech? They're getting exactly what they want out of Google, and Google's getting exactly what they paid for when they bought these politicians.
Yes,
so,
yeah. I was going to just
say...
I
just had it. I'm furious because I know this is an attack on humanity. It's never been more obvious. I used to say it's the banksters versus humanity, and that's largely true because the banksters pretty much own everything. When you think about the central banks and these 13 families that have controlled the printing presses around the globe for generations. So that's true. But now you got to throw into that little slogan, it's the banksters and big tech and the mainstream media and the demonic Democrats or the Demorats against humanity. And China. I mean, how else can you see it?
Well, big pharma.
Big pharma is deep state.
Yeah, big pharma is embedded with big tech, and now big tech is the second largest, I believe, lobbyist after big pharma because they're one in the same. And which other president has called it big pharma? He just called them big pharma last week, and is trying to bring things back from China. How did we allow all of this made in China, where they own so much in America? How did we allow this? 90% of our pharmaceuticals come from China. And, and with that said, when President Trump calls it the China virus, I believe that it's the global elitists, and it includes the BSL-4 lab, Fort Detrick, North Carolina, arguably Winnipeg, Wuhan lab, that the global elitists, because we know during the GOF, the gain of function moratorium, that money was funneled there. These virus hunters are obsessed. If you look at the fables of viruses, obsessed. And I called Fauci the plandemic impresario. He is the plandemic impresario. 6 presidents talk about vaccine, deep state. So I believe all these big pharma is a huge player, and they have been poisoning us slowly. And I learned that when I realized what they're doing to the honeybees, and that the bees pollinate 1 in every 3 bites of our food. And when you work so hard, as you know, and then you see your traffic plummet, it's very sad. And I mentioned now the Operation Quack Hack, that under the coronavirus, talk about COVID pass. I say, under the coronavirus, you can usher in whatever you want. So now there is an attack against natural remedies. None of these experts on the task force have mentioned the immune system. The only person that I heard talk about zinc is President Trump. You would think you don't have an immune system.
Well, and the whistleblowing doctors, that brave group of whistleblowing doctors talking about hydroxy-C and zinc. Yeah. And what happens? They get banned. Their videos get deleted from Twitter, from Facebook, from Google. No, you're right about Big Pharma. And my hat's off to this president. It jogs my memory. The reason I made that video, Deep State is Big Pharma is Deep State, is because this president is taking them on and trying to bring drug prices down for Americans who pay the highest drug prices in the world. And that's very dangerous. He said he's making very wealthy enemies. These people are very angry at him. So that's the truth. And never before, he said it himself, no other president would do what I'm doing. And that's 100% true, because people are scared to death of Big Pharma. Big Pharma, I made the point that I think Big Pharma runs hit teams. Not specifically, but I think they have private contractors that run hit teams. Because look at all of the dead doctors.
Absolutely, they run hit, all suicided. There's been 80 plus doctors. There was one doctor last fall, around the time of Samoa, around the time that Wikipedia introduced vaccine hesitancy, a condition that doesn't even exist, that a doctor was suicided. Well, it turns out that this doctor was falsifying vaccine to help children not get vaccinated, and lost his life. And when I started So Operation Quack Hack is an attack against natural remedies under the guise of safety, under supposedly people like myself are quacks that are selling vitamin C or selling natural remedies. I've done nothing differently. It's not like I'm like, oh, let's sell this now. And I was attacked along with Alex Jones, along with Dustin Nemos, along with Jim Baker for silver. And that is a natural antimicrobial that precedes penicillin, that was swept under the proverbial rug. And so got caught in the crosshairs. I mean, arguably under lockdown, the FDA commissioner tweeted against my company. Really, I'm honored that you're shaming me. And then there's the smear pieces. I don't know if you've received those, but I've gotten 5 smear pieces calling me. One called me a former journalist. This is someone who is not a journalist telling people that I'm a former journalist and a YouTube personality, which I wish I was a YouTube personality. I'm not, because I'm censored. So everything is topsy-turvy, and you say hit pieces. I've spoken to different people that have gotten raids as of late, like Genesis Church that promotes MMS, that they descended with a chopper. They sent the mainstream media. His sons, up until last week, were still in jail. They confiscated 8,000 pounds of MMS, and they said that it was chemicals. Another woman that I interviewed briefly, an hour later after the interview, 5 FDA agents showed up at her home, confiscated her computer, her phone, took silver, and she wasn't able to make the changes that the FDA and the FTC requested because they took her computer. There is terror. I know people that are celebrities that have gotten calls threatening their family. This is no joke.
I know it's no joke, and to say it's disturbing is just the understatement of a lifetime. It's overt fascism. It's corporations who have gobbled up regulatory bodies like the FDA and have weaponized them.
Yes.
And so, technically speaking, we are no longer a free people, and that's never been more obvious than now with the whole COVID lockdown and how these Democrat governors and mayors are behaving. It's just, we're really reaching the line in the sand pretty quickly here.
Yeah, I reread 1984 last July, and so many quotes, you know, the Ministry of Truth just vaporizing, digitally assassinating people, removing. I've seen in real time studies, like we collect seeds. Well, us in the medical freedom community, we collect science papers because we see them disappearing in real time. I wanted to say something about HCQ. Now, as someone that I've reversed lupus and fibromyalgia, I was ironically sprayed by pesticides at an environmental film festival after the release of my film. For me, HCQ would not be my go-to. I would look at quinine and the natural. However, there is no question that HCQ is politicized, that they damned President Trump, and that for promoting HCQ because it's generic. There's no patent. There's 200 brands compared to remdesivir, which Fauci has his tentacles in and costs a lot more. I don't know, 3,000, 4,000. So there's no question that there's an attack on HCQ. And again, President Trump is the only one that has mentioned zinc. Why isn't anyone mentioning that we have an immune system and that this is no less fatal than the flu, and that there are ways to boost? For instance, when we got here, Zach arguably had the coronavirus. He was sick for 3 weeks. He coughed on me plenty of times. I did not wear a mask. I did not get sick. There was one day where I felt my immune system go down, and I loaded up on liposomal vitamin C and took a lot of silver. I still had zinc with me then, and I was okay. And so I'm not ever saying that this is personally saying that it's a hoax, but it's so exaggerated and it's used to usher in a new world order. So what do we do? What are the solutions?
Oh, you're asking me for the solutions. Well, boy, how about I turn that back on you and ask you
Well,
for
I'm
the
say
solutions?
proverbially asking, well, we've seen peaceful protests by conservatives, arguably.
Well, here's the, I do have a solution.
Yeah.
The solution to what ails us right now in the United States is constitutional sheriffs, the sheriffs who have pledged their allegiance to the Constitution. They have more power than a governor or a mayor who issues unconstitutional orders or mandates. So a constitutional sheriff is very important. People should get in touch with their sheriff, ask him if he will obey the Constitution, ask him if he will defy unconstitutional laws, not enforce them so that you can open your business, and if he says no, then get him out. Elect a sheriff who will make a pledge to those things. My friend Sheriff Mack over at Constitutional Sheriffs and Police Officers Association can help you educate your sheriff if he doesn't get it. All right, so check out cspoa.org. But the other solution, Miriam, is to boot out, stop electing these Demorats in the United States. People like Lori Lightfoot, the Chicago mayor, who 2 times now on video, probably more, but I've seen her do it 2 times on video. She has pledged her allegiance to, in her words, quote unquote, the New World Order and global governance.
Yeah.
End quote. All right? We have to boot these people out and start electing people who care about you and your Constitution and your Bill of Rights. Period. That's the best solution in this country.
Absolutely, and we should be voting in person, and that I mean that brings up a whole other can of worms. But the billions of dollars that they're asking for, the President Trump mentioned, what was it, $3 billion for mail-in voting? I mean, does this look like they're expecting the Rona to leave any time? I agree that only schools that actually open should get money, just like President Trump says. I don't know what the problem is with that. The things that they're instituting. And so it's important to vote in person. And will that happen? I know that's another topic, but if we're going to vote these people out, we have to be given the opportunity, right?
Well, right. And here's the thing. We know they stack the deck. We know they cheat. Look at what Google has done to you, to me, to other truth tellers, to other truth-telling websites like Breitbart.com and so many other conservative websites. They cheat because they can't win the debate in the town square. So they literally cheat. And so do you think for a minute that they wouldn't steal an election if they can figure out how to do so? Of course they would. And it's funny to me, we'll round it out with this topic, Maryam. It's funny to me that their solution to what ails us is Joe Biden, who should be indicted for crimes, and Kamala Harris, who stacked prisons filled with black people. So that's their solution to what ails us, is 2 corrupt individuals. That's the best they have?
Well, arguably, Biden will be swapped out. I sometimes think it's an act, this dementia. And as President Trump said yesterday, Kamala, who is also corrupt, that's the ticket. Who would be voting for Sleepy Joe? I rather vote for a donkey. I'm definitely going to vote Trump. Definitely going to vote Trump, and not going to hide in the political closet.
Good for you. I am too, because I think this is an existential threat against what's left of the Republic of the United States. And November is really important. Anybody that tells you elections don't matter evidently isn't paying attention to what's going on in Seattle, in Portland, in New York City, in LA, in Chicago, all of which are run by Democrats. So I think elections do still matter, and I think people ought to get out and vote. Now, we're going to wrap this up by letting you plug your site, but before we do that, I'll do a screen share. I know you sell something that we also are involved with a trusted partner. It's this little item here, guys, which I really can't say out loud, or Google will probably ban the video. If you want to get the best, highest quality of this item, click the banner at SGT Report. We'll take very good care of you. My buddies over at Organica Naturals, they do a great job. That said, there are excellent things you can get for your health at this website, Maryam's website, honeycolony.com. Do you want to tell them about that, Maryam?
Sure. So it's a magazine and marketplace. I don't know if I can offer a coupon code if they so wish.
Yeah, go for it.
That you can use 10 off, TNOFF. And our biggest seller is chelated 4,000 ppm bioavailable silver. So there's colloidal silver, which is 0 to 10 ppm, and this is 4,000, and it's patented. And I say colloidal silver, we sell a processor so you can make it at home. We sell, everything is made in America. Nothing is made in China or elsewhere. And we sell molecular hydrogen, which helps to really hydrate molecular hydrogen that hydrates the cell, because a lot of us are dealing with mitochondrial dysfunction, and vitamin C, silver, natural lubricant, which is also a bestseller because women are dealing with vaginal dryness, as an aside, because of estrogen mimickers. And we have excellent information as well about the immune system. It is possible to heal. If I am 47, yes, 47, I've been hit by a car, dragged 50 feet, had a metal rod put in my leg, was sprayed by pesticides, and reversed an autoimmune condition, have dealt with mold toxicity. If I can heal, so can you. And so I'm here to empower people and to walk my talk. So, and I invite you to buzz on over to Honey Colony. I work basically for retweets. So I tell people to follow me on Twitter at Maryam Henein, and to check out my YouTube channel, which is Maryam Henein Bee Lady. And I also have a Patreon page just to keep going with my content, if I'm able to share that as well.
Oh, absolutely. We're all under fire. And you know what? When cheating doesn't work for them, because we're still winning in the town square, they demonetize us. I mean, how evil is that? Yes. To demonetize honest platforms, but keep guys like Jake Paul making millions of dollars as he peddles crap to kids? I'll tell you what, guys. If you enjoyed this interview as much as I did, head over to Maryam's Patreon page and pledge $1 a month. It would make a difference if, 1,000 of you did that. $2 a month, $5 a month. I know everybody's strapped these days, so yeah. For those who have the pockets to do so, please support the truth tellers, because we now live in a world where they've weaponized the media. They demonize natural solutions to our health problems, including vitamins and minerals and supplements. They want us to stand in line for their vaccine that would benefit them to the tune of many billions of dollars. And they want to embolden groups like BLM and Antifa to burn down your cities while you're in lockdown and can't even open your own business. This is indeed a brave new, horrible world, one that I couldn't have imagined being this far gone just 5, 6, 7 years ago, Maryam. So final word from you, and thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. I would like to say that we are the silenced majority. We are the majority. The tipping point of truth has arrived. They just don't want you to know, but it has arrived, and we will not stop. And when people ask me who I work for, I say I work for God and I work for truth. It doesn't matter who I work for, whatever outlet. They are compromised. And I will keep on keeping on. And so thank you so much for this opportunity, for giving me a voice. I'm super grateful for anyone that supports me by watching, like you said, even $1 a month, so I can keep on going, because I'm not stopping.
Amen. Yeah, me Amen. Either. It's been my absolute pleasure. And a little prayer for you and me and all truth tellers. May God send his heavenly angels, a legion of angels, to give you a hedge of protection. May he stand by you, and I know he does, as Jesus Christ is our Savior. And boy, they've weaponized that too, guys. They don't want you to know God is real. Go check out my interview with James Perloff, more than 2 million views. The elite don't want you to know God is real.
Amen.
Friends, amen. Friends, thank you so very much for tuning in. Maryam, thank you.
Thank you.
Give my best to Zach.
Yes, I will. I will. I miss him dearly.
All right. Well, we'll talk again soon. And friends, I want to thank you all so very much for tuning in. Please give this a like. It might even help a little bit. Fight those dastardly, broken, crooked Google, YouTube algorithms. And for real news, friends, please visit us directly at sgtreport.com. It's the antidote to corporate propaganda and mockingbird mainstream media news lies. God bless, guys. Bye-bye.
God bless.
In fact, an article that came out the other day from here said, I think it's like half of the British population don't want to get the vaccine. So that's pretty telling, I think.